What's going on, guys? It's Michael here. But this time around we have the GBBR from Golden Eagle. So we have gone ahead and pulled this thing out. So we've dissected it. So we're going to actually put it back together for you guys. So if you ever do get into the situation that I'm currently in, you will know how to get out of it, how to rebuild it. Especially if parts fail as well. You know which part is failing, which part is not, how to fix it, what springs, everything. There's a lot of moving parts inside of these things. As I've learnt this morning. So I'm going to do the hard job for you, and I'm going to show you guys how to put it all back together and how to assemble it as such. So bear with me as we go through. I will try and talk about a few of the things along the way for you guys. So the first part up will be the actual trigger itself. So it does have a two-piece, like a knocker here, and it also has like a tiny little spring that kind of just sits inside like there. That kind of just sits in its place right there. There's a tiny hole just at the front there which will line up with the post hole on the actual trigger itself. So if we just line it up, so it's one done. Now there also is a spring on this as well, guys. As you can see how it's kind of positioned, it almost looks like a peg spring really. So once your trigger is in place like so, it's actually rather easy, this particular one. So to put it in there, as you can see, or you can kind of see in there, I'm just holding that in place just so it line up the actual body pin itself, which is located here. So the tricky part is actually making sure that everything is lined up. That way when you go to put it in, it kind of goes in freely and smoothly. Like so. There we have it. Have it in there. So this will be your body pin just here, this little silver dot looking thing. So we do have full function of the actual trigger itself. Alright, so next, guys, what we will put in will be this fire select, which as you can see is completely different to your standard AEG style fire select. It is actually your fire select here, and then it has a cog mechanism that runs the whole way along the shaft with all different indents and cutouts to maneuver certain parts inside of the actual trigger housing or hammer housing, whoever wants to call it that. But to put that in there, you kind of just have to work your magic like so. So once that's in there, there's actually a small detent pin and spring on the inside here which actually holds it into place. Now these are ambidextrous, so it will come with another fire select which will go on the outside here, which is held in by a 1.5 hex head screw. Alright guys, next one up to go in will be your Seer, which is this one here. Looks completely different to your standard Seers and stuff like that, but that's what we've got and that's what it needs. So on here will be a spring like so. Again, another peg style spring. You've got a longer piece and then you've got like a real short piece which kind of rests along the flat part of the surface here. Now to put this in, this long piece will have to come down along the outside just here. So where your main fire select is where that longer piece of the actual spring will sit. Okay, so now our Seer is in. Again, it is a bit tedious, but you'll get there in the end. I do highly suggest that you either get yourself a smaller sized hex head or a little poking tool or whatever you wish, just to kind of help you align this pin here to run through the coil and the actual side plates of the Seer. Otherwise it's moving because it is under tension 100% of the time, so it's going to jump up and down and it will become a bit of a headache. So again, make sure you get yourself just a small hex head or a poking tool, entirely up to you, just to kind of run it through, and that way you can feed the pin through at the same time as you're pulling it out. But your hammer, which is this piece right here, it does actually have a couple of plugs on either side. Now that is kind of just to space it out and act as like a bearing as such. Then you also have this very unique spring which runs around it, which again, do not lose any of these components, as again, as I said, you'll find it very hard to kind of replace them. So once your hammer is kind of locked in place like so, I'm kind of just holding it there at the moment just to kind of find its hole. But once you've found it, you'll grab your body pin like so and kind of just feed it through. So now it is reset and it is loose. Reset. Now we can go ahead and install the other side to the fire select. There we have it, guys. Now we're in safe. So there's no action, but if I switch it back to say semi, and we've got functionality of the hammer. Now on the pin that does hold the Seer, there will be two little clips, kind of like so. Now you will need to put those back on. Sweet. That's one. And that is two. Dunsky. Now we're going to go ahead now and put on the grip. Now as you can see, it is completely different to your AEG style receiver and actual pistol grip itself. So it does actually come with a little, I'd say it's a 10 or 12 mil nut. So that will situate itself in its designated area in the actual slot just there, as you can see. To put the grip on itself, again, just slide it on like so. You will have to source yourself a decent sized Allen key like this one here, just the length that is. Otherwise you might find it rather hard to try and get this screw out. Now onto the fun part, and that being the actual mag release itself. Now it is very similar to say SLR, so the Crytek versions, their mag releases came off exactly the same way by pushing it through, by pushing the actual thing through itself and then threading it on with the actual mag release stem. Now I actually learned that about the Crytek SLR by watching a guy pull apart a real AR-15, which was pretty cool. Alright, so we've got functionality. Mag's in there. I'm gonna drop it. Okay, so this part right here is a big ass spring. Yes, you're correct. If you thought about it, it is a big ass spring. Now, where this situates itself is actually in the buffer tube. Just like a real AR-15, kind of just in the way it goes. Now I'm going to show you guys why it's actually in there and what it actually does in 2 seconds, but for now we're actually going to install this spring, and yeah, so bear with me. When actually installing this screw here, be very, very vigilant. Do not force it into situations it doesn't want to go, because if you thread it, you actually run the chance of, when the bolt cycles, blowing this little nut out. And again, it isn't really a part that we have here spare, because it's more of a misuse situation if it doesn't work or it's threaded. There we go, see that? A lot more easier. Himself a flathead. Dunsky. Now at the bottom of the actual buffer tube, right about here, is a 1.5 mil hex head, which will actually lock in place that bolt or screw. It's actually a rather big screw. So that's that done right there. So again, what we have on the back side here is the string. As you can see, that moves back and forth, and that is because the bolt, which is this part right here, is what actually picks up and feeds your gel and gives your blaster its power as such. So as it's cycling back, it'll actually run itself into the actual buffer tube, like so. So it'll actually disappear into the buffer tube. And then because of the force of the spring is what pushes it forward that little bit more, like so. So we do have a charging handle which kind of just sits on top of the bolt. Now to put it back into your receiver, you just want to make sure that it kind of looks like this, and then feed it in. And that's how it should look once it's done. Now, probably one of the most satisfying parts about this particular style of blaster is if you just pop out this back pin here, like so, it'll actually allow you to just fold everything together very nicely. And there we have it. So I have just gone and pre-gassed the magazine. So magazine's in, pull the bolt back, and away you go. Now we'll just try and hit it on full auto. I'm just going to hold the bolt and see what it looks like on full auto. So there you have it, guys, a quick assemble of the Golden Eagle gas blowback rifle. Now it is the same method across all of the platforms that they have released. There's nothing different other than what's changed on the outside of it. Inside, totally the same. But again, guys, I hope this has been super helpful for you guys. If you ever do get into this type of situation, just bellow on back, come to this video, watch what I do, and you'll be in safe hands. But until next time, guys, peace out.